This is the extraordinary tale of an astonishing miracle that unfolded in the week leading up to Christmas in 1956, during the dark days of Communist-occupied Hungary. The festive season, marked by both hope and hardship, set the stage for this miraculous event. The story reaches us through Father Norbert, a devoted parish priest in Budapest, who later fled to the West, ensuring this remarkable account would not be forgotten. Gertrude was a committed communist and an elementary teacher at a girls' school. She believed in Marxist ideals and often questioned the role of religion in shaping young minds. Her lessons frequently included subtle criticisms of her students' Catholic beliefs and discussions of alternative perspectives inspired by Marxism. She saw this as her way of encouraging critical thinking and independence in her pupils. Among her students was Angela, a bright and devout girl who felt strongly about her faith. Angela found strength in her beliefs, even as they were constantly challenged in the classroom. Seeking additional support, she approached Father Norbert to ask if she could receive Holy Communion daily. "You know this might make things harder for you," Father Norbert cautioned. Angela, only 10 years old, responded with quiet determination. "That's why I need Jesus now more than ever." Well, sure enough, from that day forward, sensing something different, Gertrude began a relentless campaign of psychological manipulation. On December 17th, the schoolmistress devised a cruel trick meant to strike a deadly blow against what she termed ancient superstitions infesting the school. In a kind voice, she began to question the children, promoting atheistic materialism and arguing that only things that can be seen and touched truly exist. The room grew quiet, the faint scratching of a pencil. The only sound as Angela, her face pale with uncertainty, stepped outside. Gertrude's eyes gleamed as she turned to the class. "Let's show her," she said with a sly smile. The girls exchanged nervous glances but obeyed. "Angela, come in," they called in unison, their voices rising awkwardly in the still air. Angela entered, intrigued, but suspecting a trap. "You see, girls," smiled Gertrude, her eyes sharp with curiosity and a hint of challenge, because Angela is a living person, someone we can see, hear, and touch. When we call her, she hears us. But suppose we were to call the infant Jesus, in whom some of you seem to believe, do you think he'd hear you?" A tense, suffocating silence followed. The air seemed to thicken, and some of the students exchanged uncertain glances, their faces flushed with unease. Finally, a few voices broke the quiet, wavering and hesitant, as though unsure whether they were speaking a truth they believed or one they hoped would pass inspection. "Yes, we do," they murmured, barely above a whisper, their words trembling with fear of rebuke. "What about you, Angela?" asked the teacher, her tone probing, as if testing Angela's faith against the skepticism she clearly harbored. Now Angela understood. She expected a trap, but not one so terrible. Her breath hitched as her heart thudded heavily in her chest. She straightened her shoulders and clenched her fists at her sides, a faint tremor betraying her nerves. With a deep breath, she steadied her voice, lifted her chin, and met Gertrude's gaze. Summoning all her courage, she answered with ardent faith, "Yes, I believe that he hears me." Now Gertrude, observing the fervent yet naive passion in Angela's voice and the quiet tension in the classroom, couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and skepticism. She laughed loud and long, then, turning to the class, she shot, "Well then, call him." Silence. The communists' arguments, rooted in logic and disdain for superstition, had not been totally ineffective. He had argued that belief in divine intervention was a crutch, a weakness of the human mind seeking comfort instead of facing reality. Some of the students had nodded, hesitant, but considering the weight of his words. Suddenly, Angela rushed to the front of the class, her eyes glistening. Facing her classmates, she declared passionately, "Listen, girls. We're going to call him. Let us all call together. Come, infant Jesus." For a moment, there was a pause, as if the air itself held its breath. Then, one by one, the girls sprang to their feet. Their voices started softly, almost trembling, but quickly grew stronger and more unified. "Come, infant Jesus! Come, infant Jesus!" The room seemed to vibrate with their collective energy, their young faces glowing with a mix of determination and innocent belief. Some held hands, others closed their eyes tightly, as if willing their faith to manifest. Gertrude's amusement quickly turned to unease. Her smile faltered as she watched the sheer fervor of the girls' response. She had intended her remark as a joke, a pointed challenge, but this unexpected wave of unified belief left her momentarily stunned. A faint sense of discomfort crept over her. It was as if she had stirred something far beyond her understanding. She shifted her stance, unsure whether to interrupt or observe, her usual confidence momentarily shaken. The young ones continued their calling, oblivious to her internal conflict, as the aura of expectant hope grew around their little leader. When anticipation was at its peak, the classroom door opened silently, and a radiant light filled the space. The brightness grew as it entered, warm and gentle, like the glow of a comforting fire. At the center of the light was a glowing globe that seemed to pulse with life, its brilliance captivating every gaze. Slowly the globe opened, revealing a beautiful infant in a dazzling tunic. His smile was pure and radiant, filling the room with an almost magical peace. One little girl returned his smile, her face glowing with joy, while the rest of the children remained frozen, unable to look away. The teacher stood motionless, her hands gripping the edge of her desk, her breathing shallow. The globe closed gently, its light fading as it floated back through the doorway. Silence fell over the classroom, profound and heavy, as if the air itself held its breath. For a moment, no one moved, their eyes still fixed on the door where the globe had vanished. Then the spell was broken by a piercing scream. "He came!" The schoolmistress's voice shattered the silence, high and trembling with terror. "He came!" She turned and fled down the hallway, her footsteps echoing like the tolling of a bell, leaving the children to exchange bewildered and uneasy glances. Father Norbert interviewed the little girls individually. He swore under oath that he did not find the least contradiction in their accounts. As for Gertrude, she was tragically committed to an asylum. The overwhelming shock of the apparition affected her godless mind, and she never stopped repeating, "He came. He came," a haunting reference to the apparition that shattered her reality. This story reminds us that faith is not merely an abstract concept, but a living force capable of transforming even the hardest of hearts. In times of trial and oppression, such as the dark days of Communist-occupied Hungary, faith is not just a personal belief, but a beacon of hope and purpose for the community. Angela's actions and those of her classmates not only demonstrated the presence of Christ, but also revealed the power of courage and unity in faith. From this story, we learn that God sometimes allows trials not to break us, but to refine and strengthen our faith. For Gertrude, her life became a testimony to the truth she once denied. Christ is ever present, even when we fail to see him. His presence touched not only the devout soul of Angela, but also the hardened heart of Gertrude, awakening her to his call. In our daily lives, we too face our Gertrudes, challenges, doubts, or even individuals who deny our faith. Yet, like Angela, we are called to stand firm, knowing that God is with us, ready to respond when we call on him. This story serves as a reminder that faith is not merely professed with words, but lived out in acts of love, forgiveness, and patience toward one another. Ultimately, the light witnessed by the children is not just a symbol of a miracle, but a promise of everlasting joy for those who remain faithful. Angela and Gertrude's story invites us to reflect on our lives, asking whether we live with a faith as steadfast as Angela's. For even in the most challenging circumstances, Christ is always present, continually inviting us. "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest." Thank you for watching this remarkable story of faith and courage. If this tale of hope and resilience touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and share it with others who might need a reminder of God's presence in their lives. And for more inspiring stories and reflections, make sure to subscribe to Compatibility World. Join us as we explore the deep connections between faith, life, and the extraordinary miracles that surround us. See you in the next video.